For today's video presentation, I will be talking about the serial killer Ted Bundy. So, some of the objectives I want to cover in this presentation would be, let's talk about his childhood, let's know what his education was, let's talk about some of his killings, let's talk about maybe the number of people that he killed, and let's talk about his court sentencing. So, we're going to start out with his childhood. In his early life, Bundy was born Theodore Robert Cowell on November 24, 1946, to Eleanor Louise Cowell. He was born in Burlington, Vermont. His mother was 22 years old and she was unmarried at the time of his birth. She was deeply humiliated because her parents were very religious and they were both big Christians, and it was not the right thing for her to do at the time. She hid the birth of Ted by taking him to a home of unwed mothers to deliver him. She took him to her grandparents, and he became the adopted son of her grandparents, and she was told that she would be the sister. In 1951 is when Eleanor would marry Johnny Bundy, which is how Ted would get the last name Bundy. So, let's talk about his childhood. At the age of 3, he became fascinated by knives. Bundy was a very smart kid and excelled in school. He made great grades. He was very smart, above most of the other kids in his grade. But he was also very shy at school at the same time, and he did not socialize with other kids. As a teenager, he began to go to people's houses and looking through their windows, and he didn't think much of this. He thought it was normal. He didn't think it was a problem, and he was just walking around the random people's houses looking in their windows. Well, when he started looking at other people's windows, he started stealing from people's houses, and he did not get caught. So I'm not sure why he was doing that, but it's something he started. Well, he attended the University of Washington, where he majored in psychology. Bundy would meet and fall in love with a very wealthy, gorgeous, smart woman from California. The breakup would really be devastating to Bundy. And it would show because many of his later victims resembled his college girlfriend. In 1972, he graduated with his degree in psychology, and he got accepted into a law school in Utah. College had transformed Bundy into a more confident, social, and outgoing person that he was not in high school. He was way more actively social among his peers than he was in high school. In 1974 is when he moved to attend law school out in Utah. The beginning of his rampage. This is when Ted started his murderous rampage. About 1974, many women went missing in the Seattle area and in Oregon. There were many stories going around about how these young girls were seen with a young, dark-haired man with the name Ted. He would get these young girls to come help him because he was pretending that he was hurt and he needed their help and he was in dire pain. Needless to say, their kindness proved to be a fatal mistake. Bundy would then move to Utah, where he attended law school. Women began to disappear there also. While he was in Utah, he was pulled over by police, and they found tools in there such as a crowbar, face mask, rope, and handcuffs, where he was arrested for the possession of these tools. In 1975, Bundy was arrested for kidnapping Carol DaRonch. She was one of the few women that was able to escape him and make it back to the authorities to tell what he had done to her. He was convicted and received a 1 to 15-year jail sentence for the kidnapping of Carol. In 1977, he escaped from custody. He made a hole in the ceiling of his jail cell where he lost 30 pounds so that he could fit through the hole. And he went 15 hours without being discovered that he was gone. This gave him enough time to make his escape to make it to Florida. January 14, 1978, Bundy broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University, where he attacked 4 female residents, but he only killed 2 of them. February 9, 1978, he kidnapped and murdered a 12-year-old girl named Kimberly Leach. That would be his final documented killing. His final capture. Well, he was arrested in Pensacola for driving a stolen vehicle. Once he was arrested, investigators had many eyewitnesses who were able to identify Bundy as the Florida State University killer and as Kimberly's killer. There was also physical evidence found by the bite marks that were recovered from one of the sorority house victims that matched up perfectly with Ted Bundy. Bundy was then linked to those 3 murderers that already go in for the murder he was linked to, that he was in prison for when he escaped. The end of Bundy. He went on trial on June 25th, 1979, for the murders of the sorority women. He was found guilty of both charges, and he was given 2 death sentences by the means of electrical chair. On January 7th, 1980, is when he went on trial for the killing of Kimberly Leach, where Bundy was also found guilty and received his 3rd death sentence by means of electrical chair. During the sentencing, Bundy married Carol Boone, and they had a child together. Once his wife found out the nasty things that Ted had done and the things that he lied to her about, said that he was not that type of guy, she found out and she divorced him and wanted nothing to do with him. Well, right before his killings, he confessed to killing more than 50 women, and he would keep some of their body parts stored at his house, such as heads, legs, feet, arm, hands, you name it. He collected body parts. Absolutely disgusting. On January 24th, 1989, Ted would be killed by the means of electric chair. So, to conclude the presentation, Bundy was only convicted for 4 murders, but he was said to have killed close to 100 girls, but he only admitted to killing around 50. His college girlfriend is thought to be the driving force behind him starting his sadistic rampage. Well, when it comes to serial killers, let's just say Ted Bundy is one of the most notorious killers there is.